This is how it begins, or so they say. With a gentle wind drifting through wide-open windows, muffled laughters and footsteps fading behind empty hallways, and the light kiss of the afternoon sun. Soon there will be a call, a crossing of thresholds into the unknown. Maybe we are off to some grand adventure, or diving into another gripping mystery. One can't really tell. For all I know, a hero might even come sweep me off my feet if I'm lucky.
That's not exactly a bad thing when you think about it.
Sorry, Rebecca, I'm all the way over here. There's no hero coming for you. But this is far from one, isn't it? A riveting tale, that is. The mild breeze, the faint murmurs, the warm rays painting every nook and cranny a fiery hue, they are all as real as they can get. As much as I want to write a little tale out of this, I'm far from someone who can. Fleeting fancies, that's what these are. Merely passing thoughts to occupy an idle mind while waiting for another busy workday to end. Then again, maybe in another life I am one, who knows? But at present, what I have and what I've chosen to be, well...
I won't last years here if I find teaching rowdy adolescents a tedious job, will I?
Admittedly, the whole affair isn't exactly as grand or exciting as I had imagined as a child. If I weren't so stubborn and too passionate about the whole idea, I probably would have quit a long time ago. But it's always the kids that make it worth the while, isn't it? As if in agreement, as soon as my pen slides into a neat circle against the papers I'm grading, the final bell rings. Like a dam that is opened, students begin piling out into the hallway soon after. For a short minute, I let the noise fill my ears, let my mind wander to a place far removed from all that hubbub. Solitary moments like these have come few and far between lately. Even my own home has been as quiet as I usually prefer. Though in hindsight, the entire place hasn't been the same either, since Isabella moved in next door. And if her fussing over a minor cold last week tells anything, I might as well throw any idea of solitude out the nearest balcony so long as she lives nearby. At the memory, my eyes automatically shift over the bottle sitting at the edge of my desk. A chuckle escapes from me as I reach for it.
A little ball of energy and enthusiasm. That big baby.
Mother Hen, she calls me, and then says and does the same thing right after. It's not that I'm unused to being on the receiving end of other people's worries, or I feel any sort of apprehension over her fretting. If I'm to be completely honest, it's actually amusing how someone can be childlike one minute and then act like a responsible adult the next. But there's a dissonance there, both in her actions and words. Although she may not look like it, may not say anything, may not lose her cheer, one way or another, I know these troubles have weighed down on her lately. Her face says it all. That big numpty. If she thinks I won't notice, she's got another thing coming for her. That's how she has always been. I do understand that part, loud and clear. It's just that I'd really rather not pass another burden onto her.
Or become one myself.
Aren't I supposed to be the one taking care of them? Though I guess that's simply one of those things people eventually grow away from, once you all start leading different lives. Not completely different, I hope. Somehow that thought makes me feel uneasy. Thankfully, before stranger ideas can take root in my head, a faint buzzing comes from my bag, cutting through the rest of my thoughts. A small frown forms in my lips when the screen comes up and an unknown number flashes. For a long second, my thumb hovers over the answer button. Even the voice that responds once I do accept the call is wholly unfamiliar.
Hello?
Oh, goodness. Finally, it connects. Hello? Is this Miss Gales? Rebecca Gales?
Yes, speaking. Who is this?
Oh, sorry. Rose Cooper. Briar Realty Corporation.
Briar Realty?
My frown deepens as I strain from my chair. Something in her tone, despite sounding remarkably friendly and light, doesn't sit quite well with me. The rigid pause that follows doesn't help ease the tension that has suddenly descended either.
Miss Cooper?
Yes. Things are a bit busy on my end. I apologize. I'm not certain if Isabella has mentioned anything before, but we're working together on a property at the moment, and...
The Armengard Mansion, yes. She said something about that earlier. Is there a problem?
This is about Isabella, actually.
She wastes no time relaying everything. The details she provided are admittedly a bit vague, but enough for me to get a gist of what happened. It isn't the bad sort I'm expecting, though still worrying. Especially with words panic attack and pale looking a bit sickly woven together in one foreboding sentence. But as quickly as it surfaces, I stomp down on the urge to demand answers right then and there. Now isn't the proper time for useless questions. I'll find out soon enough regardless. To Miss Cooper's credit, she neither hesitates nor falters all throughout. There's some sort of comfort in knowing Isabella has someone like her to guide her, though not as much as I would have liked. After all, this is Isabella we're talking about. What are the chances she just said a bunch of excuses so she won't get sent home? High. Very high. Oh, she is so going to hear it this time.
You were listed as one of her emergency contacts, so I thought it'd be best you know about this.
How is she? Is she doing okay?
I had her take a break for now, but honestly, I'd feel better if someone were to pick her up and take her home for some rest. Anthem's a fair distance from Luxborn. I really don't want her going off on her own. I'd do it myself, but you know how it is today. Big day. People everywhere until the open house ends. I'm really sorry to ask this of you, Miss Gales. I know you're busy.
Oh, no, it's all good. I was just about to leave from work. I hope to leave early today anyway. A few minutes ahead wouldn't hurt. I can be there in a few, 30, 40 minutes tops. Is that all right?
More than fine, Miss Gales, thank you. We're supposed to be here until... Oh, excuse me. One moment, please. Yes, ma'am.
The faint hum of conversation echoes from her end. It sounds as though the place is buzzing with more people than you'll expect from a regular open house. I was skeptical at first. The house is old, not to mention its inconvenient location in Luxborn's outskirts. Who wants to live in a place almost an hour's drive away from the comforts of the city? But from what little I can hear, it appears Isabella has every right to be optimistic about this sale. If I didn't understand why she was so adamant in refusing my offer of help before, I think I do now. To some degree.
We'll be resuming the tour soon. Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. I really need to get this thing going. Lord knows how I'll salvage the situation here. It shouldn't be anything complicated, but still, clients. They can be difficult when they want to be. Anyway, just look for me when you get here, alright? I shouldn't be too hard to miss.
No problem. Thanks for letting me know about this. Just make sure Isabella stays put, please. Heaven knows how stubborn that girl can be.
Oh, believe me, I know. Don't worry about it. I'll have a few of our staff keep an eye on her for me until you get here.
That's all I'm asking. I appreciate it.
The whole thing ends on a surprisingly pleasant note. If only the same can be said for the news she brought. I allow a brief minute to pass to ease whatever tension has latched itself firmly onto my nerves. But no matter how much I wish for it, my mind stubbornly refuses to do so. My hands are unsteady against the papers I pretend to arrange after. Lucid thoughts, every single ounce of it grimmer than the other, grows with each passing second I linger. Something about this whole thing, along with the sudden unease and nagging worry, screams off. Wrong. This isn't the riveting tale I've hoped to step into today. Even on a rush, getting everything in order before leaving takes nearly a good quarter hour. By the time I make it out of the classroom, the commotion has already died down, dwindling to mere echoes and distant laughters. From the nearby room, melodies from a rehearsing band drift freely into the air, filling the almost empty hallway with their warm, lively tunes. Any other day, I'll stop, bask in the music, and enjoy what little peace it brings. Not today, however. My steps are brisk and sure as I march to Edward Hall's exit. The sooner I confirm Isabella's okay, the sooner I can shake off this niggling feeling. For one reason or another, that single call of all possible things has thrown everything off kilter. I'd rather this be over with as quickly as possible. So much that I nearly barrel over a student in my haste. Though perhaps it's really the other way around. When I look down, a set of eyes, bright and hopeful, stare back at me. Her arms are wrapped around my waist like a vice, and at my attention a grin spreads over her face. Buenos tardes, Miss Pink. I don't know why she wasn't voice acted there, but that's good evening.
Hello, Kylie. You know, you aren't supposed to run into people like that.
Sorry, Miss Pink? She loosens her hold on me, but not a hint of guilt or regret appears on her. If anything, it seems the only remark amused her. A smile appears on my face before I can help it, matching the one on her own.
Just remember not to do it again, all right? You could get hurt.
You sound like my mama when she's scolding Rowan, Miss Pink.
I'm sure your mama only means well. I know she'll be worried sick if one of you were to get hurt. Where's your brother anyway? Aren't you two supposed to be heading home now?
Rowan said he's got some stuff he needs to do before we go. I think he's taking too long. But he promised to buy me jelly babies today if I keep what he's doing a secret from Mama and Papa.
Any chance you'll tell Miss Pink about it?
She shakes her head, both her hands going to her mouth as if to keep a precious secret from spilling out.
I made a promise. She said it's for Tia Luke.
Oh, something like a gift?
Tio, I think, is uncle.
Like a deal. Tio promised to take him somewhere cool when he's old enough. Rowan's gonna prove he's a grown-up.
Laughter slips free from my lips. The teacher in me wants to give whoever this Tio is a reprimand for bringing about this kind of behavior in children. But if both Suarez kids are so fond of him, there shouldn't be anything to worry about, yes? At any rate, they're nothing but well-behaved, both Kylie and her brother. Rowan, the eldest, may have an occasional odd streak in and out of class, but their parents taught them well. I see no reason to cast any suspicion of bad behavior on them.
As long as it isn't anything dangerous, all right?
It's not. Cross my heart. My drawings are a lot prettier than what he's doing anyway. Tio said so. Do you want to see? I drew one earlier at class.
Is that why you're here?
Not really. I was gonna show it to my friend first. But since it's you, I'm sure she wouldn't mind if you see it before she does.
Oh, oh no. I can't stay right now, Kylie.
Her face falls immediately after the words are out. A small part of me feels responsible for that crestfallen look, but as much as I want to stay a little longer, there's another place I need to be at right now. And frankly, another child to look after. Taking both of her hands, I kneel in front of her and muster the most rueful smile I can give. At her age, I'm quite sure she already understands what I'm about to say before they're even out. But remarkably, she doesn't look away or pout as I'm expecting her to.
I'm sorry. You know what? Rowan has a class with me on Monday around this time. Why don't you drop by again next week? After class? I'll even make sure to wait for you. It's just that I absolutely must leave now. My friend had an accident earlier, and I'm the only one she has here.
What about her mama and papa?
Her family lives really far from here, I'm afraid. Do you remember where Asia is? The southeast part? That's where they are.
Her eyes immediately light up at my question. Just like that, I know I've earned the girl's forgiveness.
Oh, just like Takako.
Uh-oh.
Who?
My friend. She said she used to live there, only just a little higher than southeast. But she hasn't come home in a long time, so she doesn't remember much about it anymore. Melody says it's weird I talked to her, but I think she's just shy. They could be good friends too! Don't you think so, Miss Pink?
Maybe if you introduce them properly, they will be.
That's what I think. Takako's just lonely. If she makes more friends, she won't be anymore. Is your friend like that too?
A little, possibly. To be honest, sometimes I can't tell with her.
After all, Isabella has always been the kind to hold a smile, even when things have taken a turn for the worse. 5 years and one will think it's enough time to know a person. But when you consider it, come to think of it, all these years, I've never, not even once, seen her cry. Not over a trivial matter, even when things are tough.
Okay, you can go to her. I'll just show you my drawing next time.
Thank you. Remind me to buy you a huge glass of parfait, all right?
No, I'll get a stomachache. Takako says so. A small one is okay.
I'll remember that. Say hi to your friend for me.
I will. I'm sure she'd love to meet you too. See you, Miss Pink.
I'll see you later, Kylie.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down.
She doesn't look back or wait for any sort of goodbye from me. With a song and an extra spring in her steps, she bounds across the corridor with as much spirit only a child her age can have. As if the conversation has never taken any downhill turn for her at all. As if there isn't a single thing to worry about in the world. Not long after, she disappears behind a door, leaving behind strains of an old familiar rhyme lingering in the air. Carefree, unbidden, untroubled moments like this, I envy her. As I resume my hurried pace, a tiny whisper at the back of my mind wishes the same could be said of myself and my own worries. Luxborn may be a small city, but it's no stranger to hellish rush-hour traffic. But surprisingly, getting out of the city today proves more of a breeze than a hassle. A relief considering how none of my calls to Isabella have made it through. Either the reception's really bad over there or she's ignoring them on purpose. Both does nothing to ease the disquiet in me. The rest of my drive passes without much incident as soon as I'm out of the busy streets. In less than 30 minutes, the mansion looms ahead of me. For all the fuss Isabella made about the house, it remains a thing of beauty. Unlike Luxborn, the estate and the nearby Ansem village stand as its complete opposite, living and breathing the songs of the old, whispers of a once booming haven lingering in the air. Contemporary conveniences aside, it's a place I'm glad modernization hasn't wholly touched.
It's just a shame the locals know more of the silly hearsay than the history itself. If I could only knock some sense into these people!
Sadly, complaining is all I can afford to do. As much as I want to give them a piece of my mind, it isn't why I'm here. I don't think these rich types will appreciate getting a lecture from me either. I have as much business with them as they have with me. With a heavy sigh, I give myself one last second to take in the scenery before heading up the main entrance. Most of the guests are already heading out. Though some still linger, it's mainly just to take photos of the house's facade or its various rooms. I pause for a moment, scanning the small crowd gathered at the foyer, looking for any sign of that familiar ponytail among the sea of hats and heads.
No sign of her.
No sign of the other staff or Miss Cooper either. I can certainly look for Isabella on my own, but in a place this big? I'd be lucky if I end up lost or find her before we need to meet Zachary and Ash tonight. Sigh, and I reach for my mobile and dial her number, the gesture familiar now after so many attempts earlier. If she doesn't answer, I can still try contacting Miss Cooper. I just hope the network reception will cooperate this time. This side of the county has never been popular with the tech-savvy, after all. To my relief, it only took 3 unsuccessful tries. At the 4th one, right as it's about to switch to another intercept message, the line finally rings. Silence follows while I wait for it to pick up, the ringing going far too long for my tastes. By now, most of the visitors have already cleared out. All I have for company are the faint murmurs and an eerie calmness left in their wake. A sudden hush settles and gives way to noises louder than they've ever meant to be. Doors creaking and slamming shut in some distant part of the mansion, floorboards groaning under the sheer weight of the house's history. In the now empty hall, they all reverberate with special clarity against the walls. Like this, those old stories seem to almost have a ring of truth to it. I don't get to stray far into that ugly line of thought, however. Not a second later, a click sounds from the other end.
Hello? Isabella? Miss Cooper called earlier and... Isabella? Belle? Are you alright?
Without any warning, the call gets cut off. Busy notes blare sharply against the heavy silence. But above the noise cutting through the mute air remains the faint cries of a woman. From beyond the foyer. My hand falls to my side as I cast a wary look around, waiting for someone to come running. Surely I can't be the only one hearing this. There must still be some staff hanging around, checking things out. But no one does. Not even when her sobs turn more frantic and anguished.
Excuse me? Hello? Who's there? Isabella? Isabella? Is that you?
No answer. Growing anxious, I amble over where her cries come from, each step slow and cautious, towards a door on the other end of the room. While I'm far from someone who readily gives in to fear or stories lacking factual basis, the vague, restless feeling I have earlier immediately returns to me. And despite myself, my heart begins to race and my breathing quickens.
Belle? Belle, it's me. Miss Cooper called. Is everything okay?
Abruptly, all of it stops. My whole body tenses, mouth dragging in a ragged breath, ears straining for any other sound yet to come from the other side. But nothing follows. Instead, the quiet only lends itself to the heavy tension in the air, as if every small movement will disturb the fragile stillness hanging in the room. I wait for another second. Then, with a caution, I reach for the knob. My fingers barely graze the brass handle when a hand falls on my shoulder.
Excuse me, ma'am? I am so sorry. I didn't mean to startle you.
No, it's
Still reeling, my gaze shifts back to the door, as if any second now the cries will start again and whoever's inside will burst out of the room. But I don't get to dwell on those. The woman's worried voice breaks through the haze in my mind again, oddly soothing in the thick of my unease. Even if the concerned look comes from a total stranger, finally being in the company of someone else is somehow comforting.
Ma'am? Are you okay?
Oh, no, I'm fine. This is probably just some cold.
Do you need to sit down?
No need. I'm actually looking for a friend.
I wave the mobile in front of her like the gesture alone explains everything. Vaguely, I note my tight grip on it and quickly slip it into my pocket before she notices. She doesn't need to know.
Well, I'm not really sure if your friend would still be here. We're actually about to close the open house in a few minutes, ma'am.
No worries. She's not a guest here. She works for Briar Realty. Miss Cooper called me earlier. In fact, I'm also looking for her.
Recognition flashes in her eyes and her worried expression dissolves into a smile at once. It's all I need to know that I don't have to look elsewhere or venture deeper into the mansion on my own. In some way, I'm not too keen on the latter right now.
Oh, Miss Rebecca Gales, is it?
Yes. Sorry if I'm a bit late.
It's not a problem. I was busy with the open house and a few clients anyway. It's actually a good thing you came when you did. Let's see. Isabella should be here somewhere. I told her to stay put earlier. Girl never listens.
Rose? Rosie? May I have a minute? There's just this one little thing before we go.
Miss Cooper's head immediately snaps up at the voice. In a blink, a different kind of smile spreads on her face. A smile still friendly even, but the kind given mainly for the sake of pleasing other people rather than making friends.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be there in a few.
It's an impressive thing to say the least. That level of professionalism. I suppose working years in this kind of business trains you enough to be able to put that off without batting an eye. It certainly didn't seem to have rubbed off on Isabella, though.
Sorry, could you give me a second? I have to take care of this.
Don't worry about it. I understand. I can wait a few more minutes. Clients, right?
You won't hear anything from me. Priorities, you know? But if you want, you can stay at the parlor in the meantime. I think we have a few refreshments left.
No, thank you. I'm going out with a few friends after this. Isabella's supposed to join us too. But that depends on how she's doing, of course.
All right, this won't be long, I promise.
She throws me an apologetic look before sauntering over the small group gathered at the entrance. A couple? Or siblings? And another woman, probably their secretary. Either way, they look no different from the other guests. All three of them primly dressed, albeit in a manner significantly simpler than the others. No frills, no extravagance of any form. But their gestures and movements alone speak volumes of their ingrained lifestyle. In their presence, I do what I can to appear inconspicuous on my side of the foyer. Maybe accepting Miss Cooper's offer would have been a much better choice than standing around awkwardly and gaping at them. All while also attempting my best not to listen in on their conversation. Although that one proves more difficult with how enthusiastic the blonde woman is. Her voice easily echoes through the walls with only the five of us here. Pretty soon I find myself being drawn into their talk without meaning to.
Tomorrow? First thing in the morning?
First thing in the morning, ma'am.
The mundane talk isn't what catches my attention, however.
Very well. We'll have our lawyers prepare everything as soon as possible. Let's make this whole thing easier for everyone, shall we? Just let me know if there's anything you need from me. You know how to contact me, yes?
Got your mobile number saved here already.
Good. It's just a matter of time then.
It's a brief moment. A fleeting shift of my eye.
Monday for us, Marianne.
As long as you're positive, we won't be having any problems by that time. You can count on my team.
You worry too much. Let me handle those things. Do be thrilled, though. I imagine it's not every day you get projects like this,
And the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it.
Oh, I'm certain Mint's ecstatic, Buttercup. Aren't you, Marianne? You know, we could all celebrate this with a few drinks. Why don't we? In fact, there's this really excellent Irish pub I visited a few days ago.
Looming, hovering over his shoulders, drawn to him like a moth to a flame. A dark blur. No, a shadow.
I think I'll pass on that, sir. I have more important matters to attend to.
Nada, love, she's busy.
What a shame. You never let me do anything fun.
But as I try to make sense of it, a heavy feeling descends over my whole body. It happens without warning, forcing me to close my eyes. The sensation creeps to every part of me, crawling under my skin and draining me little by little of any strength. Before I know it, my hand is gripping the nearby door for support. The sudden nausea drowns out their voices and what little sound there is. All except for the whispers and laughters. Judging, mocking, taunting, muffled, inaudible words bearing down on me like a death sentence. They wrap around my neck and limbs, binds tightening with every syllable, every utterance. And with each draw of breath I take, they drag me down slowly, almost painfully, into a bottomless abyss. On, and on, and on, till the sounds turn into mere distant echoes, until suddenly it shatters.
Well, what are we waiting for? Are we done here?
His voice rips through the fog like a sharp blade, and my eyes snap open. When I look to them again, it's gone.
You can head back to the car first if you want, Luke. I hope that settles everything, Rose. I don't know what Isabella's problem is, but please make sure she doesn't hurt herself. Anyway, we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Likewise, ma'am.
No shadows or dark clouds. Only amicable smiles and cordial handshakes, the usual pleasantries as Miss Cooper leads them out the mansion like a graceful host. None of the group seems to have noticed it. And even as I force my breathing to calm down, keep my eyes trained on their backs, and wait for something to happen, it doesn't come back. She returns a moment later. Gently, she closes the great doors behind her, but there's a smile on her lips and an extra skip in her step when she walks back to me. Whatever she was discussing with the group had put her in a good mood. Even she appears to have not observed anything odd. Was I just seeing things?
Glad that was over. It's been a long day. I thought for sure we're going to... Hey, are you sure you're doing okay? You look a bit green.
It's all good. I'm actually still recovering from a cold. Weather's been crazy lately.
That must be it. The weather, the stupid cold, and the friendly warnings I'm too stubborn to listen to. As much as I hate to admit it, Isabella's right. I was, and still am, a little feverish when she visited me at school this morning. The medicine helped, of course, but only some. Although it's not like I can't function, it did get better after lunch, and I was able to go through my schedule like usual. Now I'm not so sure. However, I can't keep acting like I've seen some sort of apparition when it's anything but. I simply must have listened too many times to Isabella last week. My fever-muddled mind has started to confuse things. If this doesn't let up, I just need another visit to my doctor, plain and simple. Though I do hope it won't get worse. We did promise to watch Zachary's film together.
I know what you mean. I've been complaining to Isabel. It doesn't seem to affect her much, though. Must be because she grew up in the tropics. Anyway, shall we? She's probably hanging out with the rest of the catering staff.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised she's there. She eats like 10 hungry men when she isn't feeling well. Lead the way.
With a small nod, she gestures for me to follow. I do so without much thought, finally putting everything in the back of my mind. The entire visit took a whole 24 minutes, and my trip to the mansion, as it turns out, is a useless endeavor in itself. Isabella is no longer there, left shortly before I arrived. Or at least that's what the few staff who saw her assumed. None of them knew where she went, but I can take a few guesses. There are only a number of places in Luxborn she frequents, and, well, she's never been the complex kind. It doesn't really take a genius to figure it out. Still, it's odd she left on her own. She could have at least waited for Miss Cooper. It would have saved her having to pay the cab's fare twice today.
And right after she was told to stay put. I mean, who does that? Oh, sod off! You don't own the road!
In the end, all Miss Cooper could give me were a string of apologies for my trouble and a request to let her know when I find Isabella. The whole affair didn't even last long. I probably spent more time traveling back and forth. Soon enough, I'm weaving my way back to downtown Luxborn, worried, sick, and on top of that, maybe a little annoyed. Whether at the unexpected turn of events or at Isabella herself, I'd rather not think about it for now. Not when I'm already running late for Zachary's film. Besides, I'm perfectly sure that's where I'll find her. As one would expect, people are already gathered at the movie house when I get to it. The small avenue where it's located has been closed off early for any passing traffic, to make way for avid moviegoers who are sure to crowd the venue. So I'm trying to read the signs real fast. Pocket Chibi, Batcat, and that's what this one most likely says. Point of no return. Like, I kind of wonder if there's any sort of significance to these. So that was the sale of the mansion. Is that supposed to be what that's a reference to? Oh well. I have to park almost a street away and walk the remaining distance because of it. Looking for them has taken a while in a crowd this big, but I eventually spot them near the entrance. Thanks to Zachary, mostly. And I've surmised Isabella's with them.
I knew it.
Wasting no time, I march over their little group. Words filled with concern tumble out of my mouth before I can stop myself.
Isabella! Oh, thank goodness!
Becca, you're just in time.
An odd expression crosses her face as I hold her with both hands, and I ignore it in favor of getting a good look at her, forcing her to keep still and fix her gaze at me.
Becca, you're squishing my face.
How are you? Are you all right?
Why wouldn't I be?
There doesn't seem to be any visible injury, nor does she appear to be in pain. Apart from her confused frown at my questions, she looks pretty much like how she would any other day. Even so, you can't really tell those things with her at first glance. Last time she got sick, she never bothered to call anyone, even me, who lives right next door. If I hadn't checked on her then, she probably would have died on her bed with the rest of us none the wiser. It's one thing we laugh about now, but moments like those also teaches you something about a person. If anything, it's given me more reason to constantly worry about her. And the moment a familiar name comes up, I know my concerns right now aren't completely baseless.
Rose called me earlier.
Her expression swiftly changes, and gently as she can, Isabella pushes my hands away. Yet even before she says anything, I already have a hunch how this whole thing will play out.
Oh, no, everything's good. Rose covered for me at work today.
That's not what I'm talking about. How's your head?
Then and there, the whole conversation goes down as I've imagined. She dodges my hand when I reach for the back of her head, intending to have checked the said injury myself. Even makes a show of hiding behind Zachary just to avoid me. Instantly, what's supposed to be a simple injury dissolves into a shameless game of tag. Shouting and chasing like none of us can be bothered to act like the full-grown adults we're all supposed to be. Including Ashton. I won't put it past Isabella, but Ash, out of everyone? In fact, if that stupid smirk on his face tells me anything, he finds this whole mess amusing. Oh, for the love of...
Isabella, this isn't a laughing matter.
She did look pale when I saw her earlier.
Wow, thanks a lot, Ashton, you traitor. I'll get you back for this, just you wait.
What? I'm just saying it as it is. If you mentioned this earlier, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
There's a moment's pause. My hand stills midair as my attention shifts to Ashton, and the words he leaves hanging between the four of us. He doesn't mean my eye. I don't think he's even aware of what he said. But the meaning in each syllable alone is clear. And they echo. They sting. They burn.
I'm sorry. Saw her?
Yeah, they arrived together. Bella looked fine to me then. I don't know.
Of course. Of course. Why else would Isabella leave on her own after being told to stay put, after that little chat about money this morning? Something close to silence falls while I mull over their words, both what's already been said and what's left unspoken. When I do find my voice, it only reeks with nothing but bitter, unpleasant thoughts. Thoughts I quickly stamp out before they surface. Thoughts I hide the best I can in the deepest parts of my mind, locking away for no one to see.
Oh, that's That's good. At least she didn't have to travel alone, right? At least. Good.
Yet, try as I might, the green-eyed monster easily rears its ugly head. Like it always does, every time his gaze lingers a second longer. Every time he smiles in a manner far too gentle, far too sincere, whenever he thinks no one can see. Every time my mind suggests his words mean more than they should. Every small, little thing. Despite what he says, despite his tone.
Look, you guys.
For all I know, it may just be the same kind of fondness born from friendship. Maybe I'm simply overthinking like he often tells me, or maybe there really is something there. But in his short display of impatience, I know the whole of it is just for show. After all, growing up together with him didn't teach me nothing about him. For whose sake is it this time, though? For him? For Zachary? For her? Or for me? That I can't tell.
If she says she's okay, then there's nothing we can do about it. It's not like we can stop her either. Besides, she's still acting like the same old Isabella to me, if she can still run around like that.
Why are you taking her side?
I'm not. But if she wants to watch Zach's movie with us, I'm not going to stop her. She's probably the one looking forward to it the most.
Ash, that's... You, of all people, should know...
Tell you what, if I notice something amiss with her, I'll take her to the nearest hospital myself. Is that good enough for you?
My mouth opens then snaps shut almost as quickly, forming a thin, hard line instead. I can't respond, not because there's nothing to say. On the contrary, there's plenty, so many things I can use to reason and get him to agree. But because he speaks with much certainty, with much reassurance, it feels like there isn't even a choice. All I can give is a long, deep breath and a reluctant nod in the face of it. Before I can get a grip of myself and my own weakness, the mood immediately shifts and I'm being tackled into a hug.
Thanks, Becca. It's always been you with him, isn't it? Did you say something? Me? Nothing. Don't mind me.
A lie, obviously. What else can it be? Each and every smile, a tiny effort to keep things as they are, or so I tell myself. Little do I know this is merely a preamble. It starts out quietly and without fanfare, amidst friendly jibes and harmless teasing, with a scrap of paper fluttering harmlessly to the ground. One that looks suspiciously like a cheap Halloween prank, no matter how you look at it. And yet, despite how ludicrous it all is, Isabella stubbornly insists, as if our whole life depends on acknowledging the truth in her story. Does she even realize how absurd she sounds now? Crivens, even my students won't fall for this.
Isabella, aren't you taking this a bit too far?
She doesn't give me time to regret nor think over my choice of words. From there it escalates, grows into an argument too petty even for our standards as adults. Before we know it, one after another, harsh, scathing words are being spoken.
It's not a joke! Will you guys listen to me first? I saw something in the house earlier. It stood right in front of me. If I hadn't gotten away, that thing might have...
Right. And in broad daylight, Isabella. Typically, I don't believe in this stuff, but even someone gullible would find the logic in that screwed up.
There's also no way in hell that this supernatural shit you're talking about is true.
But it's real! What do you think I saw?
A hallucination? A delusion? Didn't you say you fell down some stairs? So maybe Rebecca's right.
It happened after, when I was trying to get away. I almost got stuck in the same room with that thing. We're all in danger. I thought you were my friends. Why don't you believe me?
But someone has to be patient in all this, and however much my own has already been frayed earlier, there's no one else. Who else here can deal with someone selfishly acting like a kid? Like every other time, it has to be me.
We are, and you know that. But this thing and that thing has got nothing to do with the other. When Rose called earlier, I thought she's just exaggerating. But based on what I'm seeing right now, maybe it's better if we really postpone this for now.
Don't bother.
Just like that, she cuts us off. Slams the door right on our faces while my own temper flares before I can stop it. Although it falters briefly at the hard expression on her when she snatches the blasted paper from Ashton I hold on to it. Regardless of how upset she appears, soured expression and balled fists, throwing a tantrum is simply unacceptable. For a grown woman at that. Words form at the tip of my tongue ready. before I can open my mouth and let it all out, her feelings and mistakes be damned, Zachary raises a voice of his own.
Guys!
A warning underneath the warm and hopeful beat in his voice. We all stop and look to him. Even my own anger subsides a little at his tone.
Why don't we all calm down first? I'm sure Isabella has her reasons too. No need to be hard on her. And hey, ain't this supposed to be a happy get-together?
To an outsider, it may sound like a desperate request, but Zachary has always been the one to keep a level head over petty squabbles. This time's no different. He knows what to say, and when he lets it fall, they only ring sharp and true.
We haven't seen each other for months. I'd really love to know what y'all have been up to. I only ever get to talk to Bella over chat. Please.
And as careful as he is with his own tone, it does make me feel ashamed. We're supposed to be here for him, to give what little support we can give, and yet here he is trying to keep 3 stubborn people from outright hashing it out in public. Later, we can and will talk about it, of course. There's a proper time and place for it, and at the moment my anger and whatever reprimands it carries no longer matter. Beside me, Ashton appears to have already caught on. The lines of his shoulders eased to something much more relaxed, his expression back to its usual nonchalance. Isabella, however, she stands perfectly still, her hands clasping the straps of her bag like a lifeline, eyes trained at some point near her shoes. There's no anger in her face, only an undeniable hurt. But she's never been good at hiding what she thinks, always the open book, always the one to wear her heart out in the open. And when she looks up, her answer is also as simple.
I'm sorry. Today's not a good day for a movie night out. I think I'll pass. Enjoy, you guys.
Isabella refuses to meet her eyes, Zachary's in particular. And though she smiles, it's hollow and belied by her trembling hands and drooping shoulders. I wait for another outburst from her when she drags in a breath. Anything easier to deal with than her short, wounded glances. Only, it doesn't come. Instead, she stumbles back and merely walks off on us.
Isabella, wait!
Zachary's and Ash's voices immediately follow mine. However, the swell of the afternoon crowd has already swallowed her retreating back before our words can reach her. Regardless if they do, I don't think she'll listen either. So exasperating. And here I was thinking earlier how admirable she can be when she acts her age. All because of one stupid piece of prank she can't let go of. Despite the tense, awkward air she leaves, none of us speaks nor chases after her, even with my own frustration over the matter, even with Ashton's seeming indifference. Until Zachary's sharp exhale slices through the stiff atmosphere and he voices out what we're likely too proud to admit given our natures.
Really, guys?
She walked out on us, Zachary. Can you believe her?
Yes, I saw. But that ain't the point here. You could have at least humored her. Toned down on the teasing for a bit.
He sends Ashton a pointed look at the last one. For a moment, the latter appears to say something in his defense, but soon drops the idea altogether. He swiftly averts his gaze with a small frown, his hand going to rub the back of his neck in an awkward gesture of comfort for himself. He knows Zachary's right, in more ways than one, and this is the closest we can get to him admitting he's in the wrong, but...
You can't just tolerate that. If this is her idea of a joke, I fail to see what's so funny about it. She went overboard, Zachary. And then she goes home all upset, like we're the ones at fault here?
Cut her some slack, please. We're all aware how she felt about the mansion in the first place, yeah?
You don't really believe what's written on that paper, do you?
No, but come on, Ash. You're the detective here. You must have noticed something we didn't.
Hey, Zach, keyword detective. Police? Dealing with supernatural shit isn't in our training manual, if that's what you're trying to get at.
I ain't. All I'm trying to say is, we all have our bad days. Give her the benefit of the doubt, okay?
She was behaving like a child, Zachary.
Ain't we all? Look, let's just hear her out next time, aight? Talk about it properly, preferably without anyone blowing a fuse. She won't be making a big deal out of this if she's in a better mood in the first place. Something else must have ticked her off at work. Just snowballed from there.
Probably not something.
A shadow passes over Ashton's eyes, his eyebrows furrowing in deep thought, but he tucks it all away before Zachary notices or I can ask about it. Catching that look on him, however brief as it is, leaves me unsettled for some reason. It's something I'm not used to seeing in him.
Someone, though.
Oh, so you did do something.
What? No! Why does it have to be me?
You tell me. You used to be so friendly with each other. Now, every time you're in the same room, all you two seem to do is ruffle each other's feathers. What exactly happened, Ash?
Nothing.
All right, and you're a much better cook than Sis.
I didn't do anything. Really. You might be right, though. Something must have happened during the open house. There was a crowd, you know? It could have easily been one of their guests. Anyway, we should stop wasting time here. What's done is done. Let's just head inside. The movie's going to start soon.
Ashton doesn't even wait as he shuffles inside, leaving Zachary and I staring after him. A diversion if I've ever seen one. Frankly, I don't know what to make of that. Moments like this often blur the lines between those he prefers to keep at a distance and those he has opened up to. And sometimes it puts the question of how far he's willing to trust his own friends. Sure, his straight face, whenever there's something in his mind, is nothing short of impressive. For people he's never bothered to let in, it's typical. No one will care, and that's exactly how he prefers it. He never did quite like the kind who meddles. But those who know him well, those he is allowed to get close, are bound to catch on, bound to grow concerned regardless of the things he wants to keep to himself. Especially with that look on his face earlier.
What's with him? I was just pulling his leg.
I'm sure it's just as he says. He would have said something by now if there's anything we should be concerned about. You know how he operates.
All empty reassurances. I don't believe the words myself. In the first place, there shouldn't have been a need to make these excuses for him. But it's obvious there's something that needs to be addressed, and as soon as I get the chance, and it can't be in the presence of other people, including Zachary.
Oh, all 13 of my locks know exactly how.
And don't hold it against him.
Easy for you to say. He never does that to you guys.
He knows his boundaries. And Belle would have probably hit him with that metal rolling pin she keeps, if he so much as thinks about it.
Actually, I'm almost surprised she hasn't done so yet.
A short pause, then like a switch that has been turned off, Zachary's jovial mood dies down. It doesn't take long for him to find his voice again, though the hesitance in it is apparent.
Rebecca? About Bella earlier. Could you...
Don't worry about her. Just enjoy your own movie for now. I'll check on her when I get home. Maybe I could even get the real story out of her.
That'd be great. Thanks. Man, I was really hoping to watch this with all of you.
We'll get another chance. It's not like we won't be seeing each other soon. We're living in the same city, for heaven's sake.
Touché. Anyway, you should head in too. Who knows what trouble Ash has gotten in there without us. Somebody should keep him in line.
He's a grown man. He can take care of himself for a few minutes. What about you?
Getting us some snacks. My treat, yeah? We've still got a few minutes to spare before they start. I'll catch up with you both soon.
All right, but don't take too long. Just bottled water for me, if you're planning to get some drinks too.
Right, gotcha.
He gives my shoulders a light tap, then hurries over to the snack bar. Briefly, I allow my gaze to linger past it, towards the far end of the street, in the same direction Isabella took off earlier. Searching, hoping, expecting she'll simply be staying among the passing crowd, that everything's just a bluff. Perhaps there'll also be an apology ready at the tip of her tongue, and a promise to be more responsible with their actions next time. But as much as I will it, there's no sign of her. After that little spat, it'll be foolish to even wait at this point. So with a sigh, I finally step inside. It's not the excited chatter that stops me once I'm in the small auditorium. Rather, it's the sheer lack of one. The hall's not completely empty, no. From where I'm staying, I can still spot a couple of heads dotting the seats, some nodding, mostly engaged in cheerful conversation before the film starts. But the absence of a bigger audience and what few murmurs floating in the air only made the room seem a lot larger than it actually is.
Surely this can't be all there is from that crowd outside.
They had to close a whole street for this, didn't they? In any case, this is still just the first showing. For sure, it'll have a bigger turnout in the next one. However, despite these reassurances, a pang of worry still hurts me as I stride down the aisle, passing by rows after rows of empty seats in search of Ash. Great, not even Ash is here. I don't even want to think how Zachary would feel after all the effort he put into this. Though, if there's still any comfort to find here, it's that there'll be less chances of loud interruptions, particularly from theatergoers lacking manners. And the fact I'll be spending the evening with a friend. And Ashton. A familiar warmth, one I've harbored longer than anything, immediately unfurls in my stomach. It in spite of myself, in spite of the reasons I've convinced myself of being here. Naturally, those are not lies. They never are. I'm here to give what little morale boost I can lend as a friend. But I won't deny Ashton has been a part of it too. Sometimes you simply can't say no, and once you realize logic's no longer at play, striking a fair balance with reason becomes harder. Trickier. It's not like I can simply ask myself to stop or forget for a moment, can I? It doesn't work that way. Not after I've gone and loved the same person for 17 years. If only he'd looked this way for once. Even for a short, fleeting second. Then maybe...
Okay, listen. I personally know the guy. He might be able to help. I can easily get in touch with him if you want, so...
I thought we all agree there'd be no what calls tonight. Pay up, Ash. That pizza fund box needs some cash.
All he gives for an answer is a glance and a small smile, yet it still sends the heat swirling in my stomach rising up my cheeks. A feeling I instantly put the reins on, as I take the empty seat next to him. Traitorous little thing, that smile. I don't think he's ever been aware of what it does to any woman who happens to catch sight of it. He wouldn't have thrown it out so casually otherwise. Then again, it's also one of the very few things he allows only the people close to him to see.
Sorry, just a sec, Becca. Hey, I gotta go? If you get this message, just let me know, okay? I'll free up my schedule if you want to check with him. No fees attached. I promise. Bye.
Fees? You're not doing anything illegal, are you?
You know me better than that.
Inspector Abigail?
Yeah. No! I am not losing that bet. Don't count on it.
Oh, come on, Ash. It's not like it's going to put a dent in your paycheck. Which one is it? Officer Carl? Officer Benjamin? The chief?
None of the above. And Chief hates it when I call him. Give it up.
Ash stops a moment when I hold a hand up at him, the expression on my face expecting, although a smile threatens to break through at the baffled look spraying on his own. He resembles a lost child like this. Sometimes I forget we're the same age.
What?
Mobile.
And why?
Evidence. What else? You always preach they don't lie. Put your money where your mouth is. Show.
He blinks once, then sighs. Rather loudly at that, with every intention to let the whole auditorium know how tedious he finds this little back and forth is. Just the same, he raises the gadget up to my face, but before I can even read past a single letter, he swiftly slides it out of view and straight into his pocket.
It's not work. I swear by my badge.
Oh, just admit you didn't want to pay. You're a worse cheapskate than Belle.
Becca, look at me. Tell me, does this face seem like it's lying to you?
Yes.
Maybe. Here's an idea then. Why don't you find a mirror and answer that yourself?
Pass. I've seen it plenty. It still looks the same. Honestly, it's getting boring.
All right, suit yourself. Just remember, I'm not the one who got caught breaking a deal we all made.
Really, Rebecca, it's not what you're thinking. A friend just needed help with the problem. It's nothing big enough that I'll run off on you two. Don't worry.
It's a sign. Time to end this little banter. As fun as this chat has been, some lines he simply doesn't allow me to cross, regardless of the years we spent growing up together. Especially with the sort of work he does. Of course, that doesn't mean I haven't tried. I still do from time to time, hoping he'll at least share something more substantial than his routine vague answers. Occasionally he'll talk about it if we ask, but never in full detail and only stuff we need to know. In any case, we need to look for his dead body, he joked one time. He doesn't repeat it after a stern look from me, but it doesn't make this whole situation any less frustrating.
Where's the big guy, by the way? He can't be missing from his own premiere.
Food. Is there something you want? I could...
Nah, it's good. He'll know what to get. Frankly, I'm more worried about him. Do you think Zach's gonna be okay with this?
I don't need to follow where he directs his eyes next to know what he's talking about. I've seen it with my own. Felt the exact same doubt.
I honestly don't know. I only have a small idea of how these things work. But he put a lot of effort into this. Someone will certainly notice.
He did put a chunk of his savings on it. He was hoping to start a small studio when it takes off. If it takes off.
You doubt him?
No, just concerned, I guess. As far as I know, the whole fund was initially for the studio. Space, equipment, that kind of stuff. I have no idea what suddenly came over him. He already had enough to start one on his own. Why would he use it for something else?
I'm sure it'll be fine. Zachary knows what he's doing. He had me check the scripts and the research he did before he went through with this. His personal experience with the topic also counts. I think he's onto something here.
He merely lets out another hum, only I can't figure out if it's an agreement or meant to be something else. The whole conversation dies down soon after and a silence falls between us. A strange kind of atmosphere that teeters between tense and uncomfortable, almost to the point of awkward. Between the two of us, this rarely ever happens. We've already gone past this point as children. Yet, Ashton can't seem to sit still, discreetly checking his phone every few seconds, glancing back at the entrance when he thinks no one's paying attention. Even when people have started to trickle into the room and fill some of the vacant seats. It makes the wait for Zachary all the more longer than it should be. In the thick of it, I find myself grasping for something else to talk about. So, you were at the mansion, I hear. But in practice, it's far from an easy task. Not there's a great lack of things to chat about. Quite the opposite, in fact, and getting in a conversation with him is a breeze when you're already familiar with him. Just so happens that by nature, Ashton and I are people rarely predisposed to small talk. He'll stick to his music, I'll keep to my books, as if living in a world of our own. There's a sort of understanding in it, in solitude's appeal, that only the two of us appear to grasp. Like this, we don't have to talk. The other's company is almost always enough. That's what I believed then, anyway. Until our small bubble grew to include more than just us, and little by little we'd begun to move away from that tiny little quiet sanctuary. Somehow, words have ceased to be more than just a mere option after, and picking the right one now is a necessity.
So, you were at the mansion?
A question innocent enough, yet the air changes around him almost palpably. And when his lips form a thin line and his jaw tenses, I know right away he has found the words I've chosen a huge bother to answer, if not utterly unnerving. The why confuses me, the careful tone he takes even more so. Normally I'd back away as soon as the mood around him shifts, before his response even comes, but the change prods at that ugly feeling I've been keeping at bay since earlier. Somehow, whatever his answer will be feels like it will sate something more than just my curiosity.
What about it?
Oh, just wondering, I guess. It simply didn't cross my mind you'd be there, is all.
I happened to pass by.
Well, that's different. Your cases rarely ever take you out of Luxborn, don't they? What changed this time?
What makes you think a case is the reason why I was out there?
Maybe it's because you don't usually go out of town much? I could count on one hand the number of times you did in the past 5 years, you know.
Only 5 times to be exact. Once on a trip to a nearby county where his father lives, twice to stay with Zachary's grandparents for the weekend upon their invitation, and another to attend 2 of his mom's concert performances overseas. Basically, if he thinks it doesn't concern him, he won't budge from where he's already made himself comfortable. That, and he hates going on long drives, much less on trips taking him away from the city. If he ever gives the impression of a lazy guy at first glance, well, that's exactly what he is. His little detour today, though, if it isn't for a case, then what else can it be? Really, he needs to give me more credit than that.
Anselm's hardly out of town. It's a 30-minute drive, Becca.
True, but I know you. You most certainly aren't there for a stroll or the view.
Did it even occur to you I might be checking the open house?
You hate gatherings like that.
I like them well enough when I have to.
Don't kid yourself. Why would you even need a mansion that big? You barely stay in your own flat.
Shirley needs a fancy garage?
Will you quit this sass? And I doubt Belle even invited your ass over there. You're the last person she'd ever want to see while hosting an open house. You do annoy her sometimes.
Rebecca, Christ, why do I always have to spell everything out? I already said it. I just happened to pass by. It was after I finished some work. No one invited anyone. Isabella has got nothing to do with it. I invited myself. End of story.
There's no anger in his tone. It's merely the sound of finality, of wanting to be done with this whole dumb exchange. But the way to carry Snap's last line, keeping that awful feeling of my own temper in check, it snowballs from there. My mouth moves before any other rational thought catches up to it.
So there is a case. You don't have to keep those things from me. Just say you have one. I'm not asking you to explain anything.
Why do you even want to know if there is one in the first place? And even if there is, you know the details are always off limits.
I don't. I couldn't care less if it's a case or not. But I could stand to be answered properly instead of being given vague, mindless answers. It's a simple yes or no question, Ash, for goodness sake.
You've known longer than anyone how I work, Rebecca. This shouldn't be surprising to you.
Ashton, in case you didn't notice, people do worry about you. Every time you're out who knows where, playing your little detective game. Is that such a hard concept to grasp?
Well, maybe you should have said so in the first place instead of... Damn it. Just drop this, Rebecca. This isn't going anywhere.
What the bloody hell is your problem? You've been in this stupid, wretched mood since earlier. At least try to hold an actual conversation if you can't be bothered to tell why you're in such a black mood.
I could say the same thing about you. Can we just move on to something else, please? I've heard enough arguments to fill my quota for the day. If we keep at it, this is going to end up worse than the one we had with Isabella.
One name. A hush overcomes me. Not because his words have completely tempered my anger. No, it's still there. It swells, churns, rages within me, waiting. But whatever else I've yet to say, born from it, I hold back. All of them. Every bitter word, I leave them all unspoken in favor of giving a quiet voice to that one tiny realization. The very same one that awful feeling has been whispering to my ears all this time.
It wasn't really because of a case, was it? You were there for something else.
Someone else?
How did you even get to that? Didn't we already establish why I was there? Why are we going back to this again?
You could have just said so. It's not like it would make a difference. In the end, she's not even here.
Wait, what the hell are you going on about this time?
I could have easily answered that one. Perhaps with a good serving of the anger that has been stewing inside me, seasoned with more venom than I'm accustomed to showing him. He's lucky Zachary chooses that moment to show up, carrying bags of popcorn on both arms and totally oblivious to what occurred. I could have asked for a better moment for someone to interfere.
Sorry, Ash, they ran out of, am I interrupting something?
A smile is the only answer I give him before I stand up and gesture for him to take the seat I've vacated. When I start speaking again, my tone is as casual as I can manage, above the struggle with my own frustration.
No harm done. We were just talking.
Really? Just talking. If this ain't a good time, we can postpone this.
Just take the damn seat, Zach.
Run, Zach, run! He immediately does so, albeit awkwardly, while I flop down next to him.
Okay. Clue me in if someone's about to lose it. Just so, you know, I can get out before anything happens.
Reasonable request. And that's that. The movie starts minutes after. For the better half of the evening, only a strained mood permeates in the air between us, my own irritation winding and unwinding inside me. In the midst of it all, a single thought nudges at me. Would it have been any different if Isabella were here? The rest of the evening passes without further event, though we don't stay long after. Some plans were made for after the movie the night before, but they're mostly Isabella's suggestions, and with her absent, there isn't much point to it, is there? We'll just have to find some other time, preferably when everyone's in a better frame of mind. Certainly not when the rest of us are this exhausted, having things nagging at the back of our minds, or this emotionally drained. That little disagreement with Ashton feels like a warning sign already, and it's not a line I'm willing to test tonight. Sometimes there are things you simply can't force. A sentiment we all likely share at the moment, if the silence before we part ways tells anything. Even Zachary seems reluctant to break it.
Well, it was fun, despite, you know, but really, thanks for staying, you two.
Don't mention it. It's the least we can do.
Nah, I owe you both, especially you. You sure you don't want payment for all that history checking you did?
Quite sure. Oh, you know what? On second thought, just save it for when you win an award. Treat us someplace nice or something.
I doubt it'll go that far.
Oh, please. Think positive for once.
I hear you, ma'am. I hear you.
Then put some back into it.
It's really too early to say, but here's hoping, I guess. We'll see. Anyhow, I'm off. Got some new photography gig lined up in the next few days. But just call me anytime you guys want to hang out. Sketch should be easy to free up. for some R&R now. How about you, Ash? You coming with?
We both glance his way, though mine probably comes off sharper, more scrutinizing. He hasn't said a word since we left the theater, his eyes completely glued to his phone as soon as the movie ended. Typical. He doesn't even spare me a look when he slides his phone back to his pocket and answers.
Oh, yeah. I need to double check something with the guys at the precinct.
Same way then. You gonna be fine on your own, Rebecca?
My car's parked just a block away from here. It should be an easy walk. But both of you should get going if you're in a hurry.
Right. Drop us a message when you get home. And that thing with Isabella too when you get a chance to see her. See ya.
Yeah, I will. Be careful, you two. Bye.
They leave without a backward glance. But despite my own exhaustion and the strong desire to go home, I remain on the same spot for some scant seconds still. Watching them, trying to figure out where to go from here, as if the answer can be found in their retreating backs. If Zachary hasn't mentioned Isabella again, I probably would have forgotten about his request. I would have simply left the anger to subside, until we can pretend like nothing happened. When I finally crossed the street long after they disappeared behind the evening crowd, I only have one choice in mind. She's not answering, though. I let it ring for another second before making a swipe at the screen and dropping the call. I don't bother stopping myself from releasing a loud sigh this time, long and weary, heavy with every frustration in my body today. By this hour, she's probably already back home, and it's very likely she has holed herself up in her apartment. I won't be surprised, she has done that before, very much like a kid throwing a tantrum.
I just don't understand her sometimes.
I don't understand why she can't get a hint, why she doesn't think she's being ridiculous. Why, of all people, we're the ones she has to play some dumb Halloween prank on. Granted, Ashton's the one who started it, but she did think it'd be a good idea to go with that story.
It makes you wonder why we're friends, but here we are.
Now I'm left to fix things after her. If I'm going to be honest, not having her around for a few hours today is a welcome break. Peace and quiet is one thing you'll rarely get with her around. Yet the silence and her lack of presence is nowhere near comforting. It merely lends the air the strange clarity, every little sound, every single movement more palpable. With it comes the unease. It hasn't really left me this afternoon, and against everything I wished for today, I find myself yearning for an interruption and dial her number again. As frustrating as today is, I can also use a friendly voice. It rings for a good minute or two. Until just when I'm beginning to think she's not going to answer this either, the line picks up.
Belle, hey! Just checking on you. I'm on my way home. Is there something you want me to pick up for you? You probably skipped dinner, didn't you? Don't worry, that diner a block away is still open. Want me to buy you anything from there? Isabella?
A jolt of surprise hits me, and the resulting panic, I accidentally dislodge my mobile from its seat on the dashboard. Soon I'm scrambling blindly for it with my other hand, while keeping a steady eye on the road ahead. This better not scream again. I mentioned this before, but it drives me a little crazy that the tone is so low for most of the game that I turn the volume up to hear stuff, and then that freaking piercing scream just almost drives me deaf. Although muffled heavily by the surface, a voice still crackles from the loudspeakers before I can put it back. My temper rises.
What's this? Some sort of practical joke? Isabella, if you think this is funny...
My hand stops dead for a moment. I spare the device a brief glance, waiting. Seconds pass. Nothing happens, though. Frankly, I'm not sure what I'm expecting, but the lines in my mouth forms into a frown regardless.
Isabella? Is everything all right over there?
I have to make a conscious effort not to panic right then and there, although my tight hold on the steering wheel tells a different story altogether.
Isabella? Belle? Hey, Belle. What happened?
Only a burst of static answers me, and... Maybe this lapse is entirely because of exhaustion. It has been a long day, and I haven't fully recovered from last week's bout of flu, contrary to what I've been telling people. Though perhaps had I paid closer attention to it, had I not been so occupied with other thoughts, I probably would have noticed earlier that it never came from my phone, but from somewhere right behind me. Now, I believe this is the first CG we've had this entire chapter so far. Unless there might have been one I don't remember getting. Well, there was the letter outside the theater, but that doesn't count since we've seen that before. Time slows to a crawl. Looking up is a mistake. The first thing I see is its face, a ghastly shade, every inch battered, bruised, and bloodied. Even in the darkness and the world passing by in a blur of lights outside, I can still make out the wounds. Blood still oozes from it, little trails of crimson running down its face, glistening under what little light there is. But it is the gleam in its eyes that catches mine. Yeah, this sucker has no intention of fixing any of the upholstery for getting blood on it. I swear, people have no manners these days. The quiet plea, the anguish, and the desperation in them, more than its hideous features and the awful stench of gore now soaking the air. And try as I might, I can't bring myself to look away, even as its lips contort into a horrific smile. Even as a sharp, harsh noise pierces the air and the silence around us. Against everything I've been taught and I've constantly reminded myself, I close my eyes. It's a brief moment. A short, vivid second of muscle memory and instinct completely taking over. And if I didn't allow it, if my hands didn't move or my feet didn't hit the brakes in that exact second, I might have... No. I shake the notion away before I lose myself in it. Right now, it's an ugly line of thought I refuse to venture into. Not when breathing is a struggle and every ounce of strength has been totally drained from my body. Most definitely not while the sound of screeching tires still rings in my ears. I'm alive. I'm safe. That's all that matters. But it's not my face that I look for when I finally open my eyes. All gone. I expected stains, little telling marks and creases on the covers to show me where it sat not a second ago. Hey, it has manners after all. But whatever it is, it left not a single trace. And though courage is a hard thing to gather at this point, I take what little of it remains in me and turn towards the back seat. Even then, there's none. Was there really something in there? With how empty it is, I'm beginning to doubt it. This stupid flu again.
I need a long rest after this.
My hands fall uselessly to my sides, numb from how taut my grip on the wheel has gone, yet still trembling from the unexpected rush of adrenaline. Against my ears, my heart still pounds in erratic rhythm, and my breathing hasn't slowed down. But the world has already righted itself without waiting for me, and little by little, second after second, as I sit here motionless, color begins to seep back around me. Along with it are the sounds and a voice, no longer as indistinct as it was earlier.
Becca, how do you... Press this button. You've already started recording!
Her voicemail.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Let's see... Hello there. Isabella Santos here. Sorry you missed me. Just leave a message after the beep, and I'll get back to you soon. Thank you. Shut up, Ashton.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
I can hear you thinking about it. Zach, Ashes.
All right, kids, settle down before you break anything.
That really makes me think of Archer. The recording is old, made early in our friendship, roughly 3 or 4 years ago, probably. I can't remember now. I'm more surprised Isabella kept this when she could have easily replaced it. But then again, little things like this, no matter how imperfect they may seem, are what made her the happiest. A fond smile slips into my lips before I know it. I allow it to, despite the headache already forming on the sides of my head and every negative thought still swimming inside. When at last I speak, my tone is as light as it can be.
Hey, Belle. I know you're in there. I'm on my way home. If you need anything, send me a message ASAP. I'll see if I can still get it for you. You've got 15 minutes. And, if there's something you want to talk about, let me know, okay? Bye.
The phone call ends with a faint click, and a pensive mood washes over me. With it comes a small truth. Her stay has always been meant to be something fleeting, earn some good money, go home. That's what she'd tell herself during her first year here. Now, half a decade later, I'm not sure if she still believes that. Even I'm not sure if I still believe it. And with these ill feelings I carry with me, I'm more inclined to think there's something in her reasons that has changed along the way. They're merely hunches, but something I'd rather not bring up, because I'm almost too afraid of what her answer will be. The silence is far from pleasant company for the rest of my drive, but it's a respite all the same, from an overactive imagination playing tricks on a flu-addled mind, and from smiles never meant for my eyes. All of them I abandon if only for a brief moment.